The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Podwans. I am your host, Luke, joined by Hereth.
How you doing,
How's
Luke?
it going, Hereth?
That was terrible timing.
Hey, you know, hey, hive mind. We were thinking the same thing. Obviously, it's just us two. Don't know where Char is, but that's okay. He'll show up later. But on this episode, we are going to be talking about battles.
I thought we were going to finally talk about Tales in the Underworld for once.
No, absolutely not. We're going to talk about battles right here, and I got my handy-dandy book to help me out. That's why it took us a little bit more, because our tier list didn't have all of the battles. So there's that. But Hereth, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about some Star Wars news. So what do we got?
We got like two things. First one is going to be a quick one. I haven't even touched it. Was this week we got the release of speaking of battles, the Battle of Jakku trade paperback with all the three like comic collection, which is like the Battle of Insurgency, all that. Basically the stuff that runs concurrently with Aftermath with Luke, Han, and Leia, which is the current Marvel limited series. I don't know what they're going to do after this, because we're technically done with that Battle of Jakku era stuff. So I don't know if we're going to move fully into the Mando era stuff. But yeah, this came out yesterday, so this arrived on my doorstep.
Oh, nice. That's always nice, you know. Just want to take a quick shout out to Cal and Donut Lord. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream. Really appreciate it. It's actually a stream that's actually the podcast and not me or Hereth playing Battlefront. But yeah. And then the other news is Hollywood Reporter or Daily Wire? Which one was it?
It was Hollywood Reporter. I read the full article.
Hollywood Reporter is reporting that Lucasfilm has come down with they have a plan, and the plan is to have Dave take over. To have Dave take over, but also have Carrie Beck as his sidekick, basically. My thoughts are that's best case scenario, to be honest with you. Cowboy hat man. So here's the thing, Ryan. Cowboy hat man is, I think he's a good ideas guy, much like George, and I'm okay with that. If he doesn't let people in that want to create in this space, I think we're just gonna have a George 2.0, and I don't think that's good for the franchise. Not saying that I don't love Dave Filoni or anyone else, but like there needs to be, the good thing with Kathleen was she was pretty much out of the way. She really didn't have much say when projects were like, the only thing that she was doing was cashing checks and pitching things to Bob Iger. Like literally, like that's what the president's job is. They're not in the writer's room. They're not coming up with concepts. They're not doing all these things. And I really, really think that Carrie Beck being a part of it is huge.
Yeah.
She has done a lot of great things. She helped executive produce the Clone Wars. She helped, or was that
Clone Wars? It was Clone Wars. It was both of them.
It was a little bit of Clone Wars, a lot more so Rebels. She wasn't an EP on Andor, was she?
Not Andor, but she was all Mandoverse era stuff.
Mandoverse.
So like Skeleton Crew, Mando, Book of Boba Fett.
Was she an EP on the Acolyte as well? I can't remember.
I can't remember. I remember. I mean, we also could just look up her IMDb profile.
Yeah, hold on.
It's like 15 seconds of us stumbling through, being like,
"Who cares?" IMDb. Okay, hold on. All right, so Carrie Beck,
or Ryan could just beat us to it.
So she is an executive producer on Tales of the Underworld, Skeleton Crew, Tales of the Empire, Bad Batch, Ahsoka, The Mandalorian, Tales of the Jedi, Book of Boba Fett. She was a co-producer of the Clone Wars, Star Wars Galaxies of Adventures, Star Wars Forces of Destiny, Star Wars Rebels, and Lego Star Wars the Freemaker Adventures. So she's done quite a bit. She wasn't an EP on Obi-Wan or on Andor.
Or Acolyte, like Ryan said.
Or Acolyte. So she's been a pretty consistent voice in the producing era of Disney Star Wars. And I think that I don't pretty sure Carrie's on is the one Filoni always credits in finding the money for the stuff he wants to do. Absolutely. See, that's the thing. Like honestly, I think she would be more of a fit than Dave would.
That's my hot take. That's actually what I was gonna get into. It's like I don't want to like fully give into like the whole like Filoni, like people pitting Filoni and Gilroy against each other thing, but like I honestly think where Filoni is at right now is kind of the perfect spot for him. Like I don't want him to climb higher, or I don't want him to climb lower. I just want him to stay. I want Carrie to get higher, but Filoni to just stay level.
I want Dave to keep coming up with ideas and then giving other people those ideas and letting them run with it, like seeing what they create. And I think that's the thing with stories nowadays, right? We don't want the same thing over and over, but the only things that are getting made are remakes or rehashes of different stories, reboots. Keep Filoni as CCO. And let Carrie just do her thing, to be honest. Because I mean, she hasn't had a whole lot of misses, and she's been an executive producer, and that's basically what you need to be as a president of a entertainment company. You're literally pitching ideas to investors to get them to buy in on what you are wanting to create. And the other thing is that I don't. And this is where I have fear. I think they're going to do the two of them, and I think it'll work because we won't have the problem that people have with Kathleen Kennedy and all the misogyny and stuff like that.
Except it's going to turn into what it always turns into, which is everyone's going to clap their hands and all the fandom minutes will be like, yay! And then fucking one Star Wars project's going to come out and they're going to turn on him faster.
That's inevitable. That's inevitable. Like that you can't, that's always going to happen no matter what. The only thing that she's really hasn't done are the movies. She is an executive producer on the Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm pretty sure. I believe. Yeah.
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken.
In the Hollywood Reporter said Kathleen Kennedy will stick around as producer for those foreseeable future. So I'm assuming it's like slowly just integrating.
Oh yeah, they're slowly integrating her out and putting those two in place. And I think that's a perfect idea. I think you get a good blend of ideas plus a person that can execute those ideas and get the money where it needs to go so that it can happen.
Yeah, and the way that the reason why I'm so kind of iffy on this Hollywood Reporter article, and Hollywood Reporter usually is kind of on the money a lot of times, this to me just felt like they were giving in to the whole there's a civil war at Lucasfilm. It just kind of felt like that's what the tone of the article had. Not even just for the Lucasfilm portion, like even the Disney portion as well. Like they're like, this is Game of Thrones of Hollywood. Disney wants to kill each other and constantly throw over each other for power.
I just don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. I think it's all for clicks. I think that's what everything is nowadays, is at what will get us the best clicks. I mean, we're seeing that now with two people that were so close together and now they're literally fighting on Twitter. So, that things can change on a dime, man. Yeah, no, literally. But no, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think Kathy takes a lot more heat than she needs to, or she even deserves, to be honest. And the fandom menace just wants to be misogynistic, so they'll be to be misogynistic. Yeah, you know what I mean. So the beards will get you clicks. That's true. I mean, look at both of us.
Mm-hmm.
We got 5 people in here, and there better be 5 likes on the stream. Just saying. But no, yeah, I think that is
Pretty much it.
That's pretty much all I've got. I mean, EA is not going to make Battlefront 3.
Yeah.
But we have from what I understand, they're still having pretty good numbers for streams and people playing the game, so that's always nice.
I just hope Lucasfilm just goes, all right, EA, you're not going to make it? Cool, let's just go give it to another studio.
No, I agree. And I think, well, the licensing for the franchise, and I talked about this offline. I think they need to bring Lucas Games or Lucas Arts or Lucas whatever.
Yeah,
games
call it
back.
Lucasfilm Games, but like have it be
Lucasfilm. Well, they already have a games. It's called Lucasfilm Games.
It's more of like a licensing thing, like a Lucasfilm Games production.
Yeah, like they need to do that.
Like I want it to be like LucasArts, like what you said. Like I want it to be its own dedicated studio, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like if Lucasfilm also if they don't want to do it their own studio, I feel like if they shopped around the idea of who wants Battlefront 3, someone's gonna pick up the call.
Well, the thing is, like, it doesn't need to be. Here's the other thing, like, and we'll talk about this when we talk about battles. Like, what's significant? Like, everybody, here's what my pitch would be for a Battlefront game.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a clone trooper that's fought through every single skirmish. Lives all the way up until the Battle of Exegol, and that's the final mission.
I mean, that
he fights for the Republic, fights for the Empire for a little bit, realizes that it's bad, defects, goes to the Rebellion, fights in the Rebellion. You get all of the major fights.
I mean, but clones accelerating aging, they would be dead like after Jakku.
Who knows?
Unless it's like a why am I forgetting
unless you make the first Battlefront Clone Wars to the end of the Rebellion, and then your character gets carbon freezed. I don't know. So it's just a pitch.
Yeah.
Not saying that'll happen. Probably won't, but whatever. Give smaller studios a chance to create something amazing.
Plus, like with the former developers at DICE, and they came out and publicly said if obviously they were under the assumption that EA would be making it, but they're like, we want to do a Battlefront 3. I'm assuming if another studio did pick it up, I'm assuming those DICE developers that aren't working for EA anymore would run to that studio.
You also have to remember, like, there is licensing, like, to use systems, to use platforms, to use the mechanics in the games. Like, for example, Shadow of War, you'll never see WB ever give up the Nemesis system. Like, that's something that will never be redone, and nor will we ever see a game like that happen ever again, in my opinion. But no, that's not what you guys came here to talk about. You came here to talk about battles. I also love the fact that it's me and you and not Char and you on this. So we have added all of the battles in canon that we see on screen.
Ignore this one. That was a pre-made tier list.
That's a Legends thing. That doesn't count. So that automatically gets put into D tier because it's Legends and it sucks. Sorry. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. Take it out. It doesn't belong here. Get out of my face.
I was falling around.
Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Okay, so we start with, so we'll go through them chronologically. Battle of Naboo, Geonosis, Part 1, Battle of Christophsis, Battle of Teth, First Battle of Felucia,
Ryloth. Felucia, yeah.
Yep, Felucia, Battle of Ryloth, Battle of Geonosis Part 2, Battle of Camino, Battle of Felucia Part 2, Mon Cala, Umbara, Dathomir, Onderon, Battle of Anaxis, Battle of Coruscant, Siege of Mandalore, Battle of Felucia Part 3, Battle of Utapau, Battle of Kashyyyk. Then we go Battle of Mimban, which one's that one?
That's Adelon.
Battle of Adelon, Battle of Lothal, Battle of Scarif, Battle of Yavin, Battle of Hoth, Battle of Endor, Battle of Jakku, Battle of Mos Espa, Battle of Mandalore again, Battle of Takodana, Battle on Starkiller Base, Battle of Char, Battle of Crate, Battle of Exegol.
Okay.
That's what we're ranking.
All right. And also, before we get started, we should probably go over the ground rules. One, if you can tell, it's only on-screen battles in live action, animation, and in Battlefront 2's case, game. We're not counting comics. We're not counting books because we could go on forever. We could be like, oh, Battle of Jeddah. What about this? What about this High Republic battle? We could go on for hours, and it felt like easier just to simplify it into anything on screen. Not to say there's not really cool battles here, because there is, and that could be its own category inside of itself. I mean, it will be a factor for Battle of Jakku. I'm just going to keep it a buck. It is a factor.
Okay.
But talking about the battles themselves, we were talking a little bit offline. Luke, are we counting the lightsaber battles within the battles as a factor to like Naboo? Like, we're going to talk about Maul versus Obi-Wan. We can't really ignore that.
But you also can't.
Because like Endor, you can't ignore Luke and Vader. That's like a factor.
All right. That's fine. I will allow it. I will allow it because it is seen on screen and they are pretty pivotal to the story and to the battle itself. So I will allow it. All right.
Okay,
let's start with the Battle of Naboo in episode 1. I personally think that it is a pretty solid starting point for a battle that we see on screen. I would personally put it in B tier. My reasoning is Gungans. Okay, like it's all right. Like it's not life breaking. But I also kind of keep it the same as Endor. Endor just does it better. Yeah. The cutting between the saber fight to the space battle and then to the ground assault, I think Endor does it a whole lot better. But I put Endor at B.
Or Naboo.
Battle of Naboo at B.
I'm gonna make a case for A. I think I don't want to like reveal my hand too early with how I feel about the prequel battles, but this one's on the higher end for me. Like I think, like it does like what you're saying. Like my favorite trope in Star Wars as an editor is the third act of any Star Wars movie when it's like you have like 3 different things going on 3 different fronts. Like you have the Gungans. Well, yes, it's the weakest part of the Battle of Naboo. You have technically you have 4. You have the Gungans. You have Anakin above on the Starfighter, and then you have Padme going through and pushing the Neimoidians, and then you have Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon versus Maul. And the way that it just cross-cuts between the 3 of them.
I keep it to 3 because I feel like 4 is way too complicated. You keep the ground assault all together. Like you keep the saber fight separate. You keep the Gungans and what's happening with Padme's group in 1, and then you do the space battle. That's why I don't think it's 4. I consider it 3.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, it's the same. It's literally they just were like, okay, let's just do what we did with Return of the Jedi, which was 3. The space battle, the battle of on the ground, and then obviously Luke and Vader in the Emperor. Yeah. So I would say it doesn't belong in A tier because there are so many better battles than this, in my opinion. I would say middle of B tier, but that's kind of where I'm at with that.
I would say, I mean, let's just kind of be in the middle because if I'm A and you're middle of B, let's just put it at the top of B.
Yeah, top of B. Top of B is fine.
Okay.
I will say Battle Geonosis. I think this is a high A tier. High A tier. Absolutely. Looking at it from like war standpoint in an actual battle, this is the one that we see like the most like modern warfare. You get the obviously you get the start of it with all of the Jedi. That shit's entertaining as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the gunships, you get the ground assault, you get what?
I feel like it starts so strong and then it just fucking takes a nosedive off a cliff.
What do you mean?
Like, okay, the Jedi versus the droids part, really fun. Like that part of the battle, Geonosis, that's the peak of the movie. And then it just like slowly just goes downhill really fast. Because
I disagree.
the clone droid part, you could barely see what's going on because of the fog, and it just cross cuts so much.
I love it.
And then
love it.
And then the gunship's not really the focus. It's more, okay, can we chase down Count Dooku is more really the focus there. And then the Dooku version, obviously can we consider that into the battle as a whole? Because like that is a factor. Like that also drags it back down, or I'm just like,
I think it's an A tier. I think it's an A tier just because, and it also gets enhanced through the multiple video games, multiple shows, and multiple books as well.
I just don't think it's better than Naboo. I think Naboo is
I think it's
battle.
Better. I think it's better than Naboo. Chat, we'll get you guys involved since we don't have a third person, unless Ryan wants to join. If Ryan's still here,
if Ryan wants to destroy this gridlock,
I think it's above Naboo. I'm willing to compromise and put it in top of B tier, above the Battle of Naboo, because I feel like it is so much more like Star Wars. It's our real first Star War, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
from a standpoint,
Clone Wars, I don't think it's better than Naboo. I think Naboo is more interesting. It has more things going on. I just think from a filmmaking standpoint, Naboo is better. That's kind of the lens I'm going at here with Naboo versus Geonosis. Not like, yes, the story does play a factor into it, but like I'm more going at like, I think from an execution standpoint, I think Naboo does what Geonosis does, but like 100 times better.
I disagree. I think Geonosis is higher than that. Okay. Anyway, now to the Battle of Christophsis. I feel like a lot of these Clone Wars ones are
the Clone Wars ones are gonna be fast. They're gonna be like boom, 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 boom. We're just gonna
Battle of Christophsis. I will put in between Battle of Geonosis and Battle of Naboo. I think it's an entertaining fight. What? I
think it's a high C tier, but I don't think I would go higher than that. Christophsis is like, yes, you get the introduction of Ahsoka Tano, but besides that, like, what's really going on with Christophsis? Like there's nothing really more interesting at play.
Are you kidding? You go through Ventress. That's all part of the Battle of Christophsis. You go through the space battle with Anakin and Admiral Trench. That's part of it as well. Like, it's not just the Clone Wars movie.
To me, it's like the Anakin Trench stuff is more the prelude because it's trying to them to get supplies to Bail Organa on Christophsis. It's not. I wouldn't count it as part of the battle. It's more of like the prelude into the battle. The battle itself is the Clone Wars movie.
It's part of the battle. It's part of the battle. It's part of the battle. Absolutely. You're insane if you don't think it is. I will be willing to give it back of. I will concede and I will say back of Battle of Naboo. All right. Battle of Teth, C tier. It's not very there's not a lot going on. It had a lot of cool things in it. But C tier. First Battle of Felucia, we don't see much. I put it D.
I was literally like, it's what all I remember from it is like Anakin like does the thing and then Ahsoka gets bratty and then gets in trouble and then they go on a gunship and they move on.
Yeah. Battle of Ryloth. If we're counting Amakundi and everything leading up to it, I would put it exactly where it's at right there. I put it behind Christophsis because you get Mace Windu, you get Anakin, Ahsoka in the space battle. I count that as well.
And then you get
and then you get Obi-Wan.
the Obi-Wan
part of
episode
it
with the
with
the two clone
Nira.
troopers with Nira.
Yep, Nira.
I honestly think actually I'm gonna make out a little bit of a hot take.
You think that's better than Christophsis?
I think it's better than Christophsis.
Okay,
I think there's more interesting things going on
concede to that. I can concede to that.
And especially if you watch later Star Wars media, I think Ryloth gets enhanced because of Rebels and because of Bad Batch, and like I think those factor into it because when you rewatch the Ryloth arc, it hits a little harder because you can see the seeds of what's getting planted, and you're like, oh yeah, this was going on with like the people on Ryloth at this point in time. You're like, yeah, I can see how shit hits the fan pretty quickly and how Ryloth becomes the first planet to rebel against the Empire.
No, yeah, definitely. All right, Battle of Geonosis Part 2. I am going to give it A.
I would not disagree with that.
I honestly, low-key, kind of think that it's actually S tier.
You're insane for S tier. I think
because it's that like landing at Point Rain.
Oh yeah,
one of my favorite Clone Wars episodes of all time. Because again, just like the first Battle of Geonosis, it shows you like the Clone Wars. It shows you two armies going at it, and it's so intricate into what they're trying to tell you about Geonosis. They set that up so well in Attack of the Clones, and then they come back to it. Like they leave you off with Geonosis being like, oh, they probably just didn't do anything with it. Actually, you get an interesting plot point where Poggle the Lesser is literally running things behind the scenes, and like the action's great. The separation of the three parties all coming together at one point. Always seeing LATT gunships being used as like literal transports is always fun for me.
Well, like what you were saying, like we were like our disagreement about Geonosis is like because you're like, oh yeah, because you get the really cool dynamics on the ground and then in the air. I think just Second Battle Geonosis does everything that Geonosis does, but like 1,000 times better. Like because Geonosis, the first battle is just like there's nothing really much going on, but this one you have so many layers going on because you have like the gunships landing, and then you have like Ahsoka and Barris stuff, and then you got like the Anakin and I'm forgetting her name.
Luminara and Dooley.
Luminara, you get the Luminara and Anakin stuff with the whole like Anakin not getting over his attachments and like getting obsessive over Ahsoka, and then you have Luminara and Barris who are like kind of the best prequel era Jedi. Like at this point in time in the Clone Wars, they're kind of like really in tune or like are really willing to let go of their attachments when like because it's war, and they're like, well, if stuff happens. Like you know how like people like will mischaracterize the Jedi. I think Luminar and Barris' characterization here does like a really good job of like what the prequel era Jedi are actually supposed to be like at this point in time. So like again, I think there's so many layers to the second battle of Geonosis that Geonosis just doesn't have, and I think that's why I would put it like at that tier.
I'd put it above. Like it's really close to being an S tier battle for me. Like it's so well done in my opinion. But Camino, I would put it top tier of B. I think it's better than Geonosis, and I think it's better than Naboo.
I would go like this personally, but obviously I would put Naboo at the front, but I would go something like this. I think Camino has Domino Squad, and I think that's interesting. And I think the obviously 99's death hits hard, but I think outside of that, you get the really cool like Ventress kill, and that's really it. And you get I guess you get the whole like separatist, like they're trying to like kill like Jango's last genetic strand.
Well, and it's also the space battle beforehand.
Oh, you also get the 5 the season 1 episode with the rookies episode. You get that.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to intercept that.
Well, in the fact that they decided to take a concept that really there wasn't a Battle of Camino in Legends. Really? Like Camino hadn't been attacked in Legends. At least I don't think so.
Unless you count the Battlefront 2 Clone Rebellion, but that's not. It's more.
But that's Clone Rebellion.
That's
that's more Galactic Civil War. So like, I really appreciate that they decided to. Hey, it makes sense that the Separatists would try to take over to attack the main source besides Coruscant, with Camino.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, especially where it's placed in the Clone Wars timeline, I think it's very, very interesting that those two battles are very close in time proximity.
Yeah. All right, then we got the second battle of Felucia. Like,
It's gonna be D tier. We don't
Okay.
really see much of it, so I
Isn't
don't really.
that where we get the whole?
She gets captured by the Trandoshans here, and that's really, we see a strike between Anakin, Plo Koon, and Ahsoka in the first. This is like the first half of that arc where
And then
she
isn't the
finds the
second half
younglings.
like the Cut Lachlan stuff with like Rex getting wounded? And
No,
then,
no,
am I
no.
misremembering that? Because I thought that
Yeah,
was second.
that's
Felucia.
Feluca. That's
Feluca Mai.
Feluca Mai is where that episode takes place. Felucia is the obviously Ahsoka getting in trouble, so lightsaber lost, and then
Excuse me.
Then when she gets captured by the Trandoshans. So that's where Battle of Felucia number 2 comes in.
Okay.
Battle of Moncala.
Easiest D tier ever. That's the easiest D tier ever. It's gonna be the easiest ranking we're gonna have all night.
I would say that it's above Felucia, both Felucias, to be honest. We see more of it. We see more of it, and it's more intricate to the galaxy as a whole. We see Admiral Akbar for the first time.
I mean, these are more like brief, kind of just like background pieces to set up an episode.
Skirmishes, yeah, that we see on that have bigger meaning.
It's not clearing a high bar here. I still think it's like the most. I think it's the worst that Clone Wars gets throughout all 7 seasons. I like, you couldn't help me at gunpoint and be like, watch Mon Cala again. Like it's like, if I'm not watching Clone Wars, I will skip it every single time without fail. I'm like, all right, let's go to the actual entertaining stuff in season 4, like with Umbara and Obi-Wan bounty hunter stuff. I'm just skipping this shit.
Yeah. Speaking of Umbara, I think that's I think that might be our first S tier, to be honest.
Okay. I was thinking top of A. I would put it with like the second battle of Geonosis personally. I don't think.
Okay, no. I'm willing to concede that. The only reason why I would say that it's an S tier is because, again, this is like one of like many times during the Clone Wars we actually get to see the clones' perspective of warfare. Like, we get the perspectives of the Clone Wars through Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka. Those are our main 3 people that we see perspectives from. And then sometimes Rex and Cody, but not very often.
Yeah.
And the way that it opened up the narrative to, hey, this show really actually isn't all about the Jedi. It's actually about the clones. This arc was the first arc in the first battle to really open that up.
Yeah.
Where the conversations were less about Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Padme, Bail.
I feel like the other part that's at play here with the A tier placement is, well, I think it's one of my favorite arcs in Clone Wars. I do agree with Chase. I think a lot of Clone Wars fans tend to really overrate this arc and like overhype what's there. I think it's a really interesting arc. I think it's one of the best arcs of Clone Wars. I just think the way that people talk about this arc, like act like this, because people think, oh my god, Umbara is one of the greatest battles in Star Wars, and I'm like, it's a really good battle. Don't get me wrong. Well, it's not also one of the best.
It's also very pivotal in the Clone Wars as a whole, because if the Republic doesn't get a foothold on Umbara, that whole sector is damn near impenetrable.
Yeah,
like, they need that win. And it exposes Jedi. It exposes Pong Krell. Fuck Pong Krell, by the way.
Shadow Master Allen.
Yes, Shadow Master Allen. It exposes that Jedi can, like, it's the start of what Barriss goes through in the Ahsoka Leaves the Order arc.
Yeah,
you see where they can be manipulated and can be turned to the dark side without having to switch their blades to red, and it shows the hierarchy of what do these clones have morality? Are they willing to go? Because really, honestly, this is also the other Clone Wars skirmish where we didn't see droids. It was human. It was human on human contact and battling.
Like the moment that stands out to me always when watching Umbara is the clones killing each other, and like how Pong plays them against each other.
Well, and it's like I said, it's the first battle that we see on screen that isn't droids versus clones. It's clones versus clones, or clones versus the Umbarans.
Yeah,
and it doesn't happen very often in the Clone Wars, and I think it's very, very. I think top of A tier is exactly where it should be.
Yeah, and then we got the Battle of Dathomir, which is really the massacre episode. Personally, I would put it like here.
Oh, I would. Yeah, that's fine with me. Tales of the Empire really enhanced that.
Yeah, like
I think making Grievous more like Tartakovsky Clone Wars Grievous. If we were counting Legends material, a certain battle that we see in episode 3 would be S tier for me. But it's not canon, so you can't add that. But no, Dathomir is it's okay. It's all right. It's weird. It's better than Naboo, Ryloth, and Christophsis. I
for sure.
I have no problem with that. Onderon, I think it's an A tier.
Agreed.
I think it's A tier. The way it sets up Saw, Stila, obviously Ahsoka's relationship with Saw, which I hope we get some crossover there, especially with the Reign of the Empire books. It would be nice to see Ahsoka be like, yo, what are you doing? This is like we taught you to do this, but like you're taking it to a whole nother level.
And like what you were talking about with Umbara, where you're like, we don't really see much of that in the Clone Wars, where it's
exactly
all non-human. This is more like guerrilla warfare, Vietnam style Star Wars. Like I know Umbara is Vietnam coded, but this feels more Vietnam coded.
Vietnam coded, yeah.
Where it's like
or World War One. World War One. This is more like Andor, like the French Rebellion, like like the resistance to the Nazi regime in Paris. Is how I would compare Onderon. But Onderon is a great arc just because it adds so much to certain characters, and it really builds up Saw to what he ends up being later down the line.
I guess
it's one of my like underrated arcs.
Like the moment will always live rent free in my head when like Ahsoka is like lifting Stila and then like Stila just gets shot in the back.
Yeah, or I mean Ahsoka gets shot in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Like, and also I lost my mind with Andor when Stila finally got like a name drop in like when that happened with like when Saw finally mentioned Stila. Like I was like, holy shit, we're finally acknowledging Onderon after so many like months. Like, yes, I know it's been acknowledged in like book material, but it feels like it's never been acknowledged on screen. So yeah, I would say Onderon definitely deserves to be in A tier for sure. So let's get into the next battle, Luke, if you're ready to move into that.
Yes.
So let's get into the Battle of Anaxis, which honestly, I think this is the most underrated Clone Wars battle out of any of the battles we see in the Clone Wars TV series.
Which one?
Battle of Anaxis.
I love it. I love it. I would say it'd be top B or lower A. I would put it up.
I would put it up there with. I would put it up there. Personally,
okay,
I think we get an interesting.
No issues with that.
I think we get an interesting angle to the battle.
Well,
I think
technically we see Anaxis twice. We see with Tiplar and Tipla.
Yeah.
With that, and then we see it later on with in season 7. But I would absolutely agree. I think it's an interesting concept for a planet to have a ring around it that's a species made ring, and it's battles within each sector of the ring that's not even on the planet. I think that's an amazing concept to have.
Even from a planet standpoint, I think the thing that draws me to Anaxis is the Echo angle of the Separatist has Echo held hostage, and now the Separatists are adapting to what the clones are doing, because all their old tactics from the last 3 years don't work anymore, because Echo, Rex, and Cody came up with these strategies, and now since Echo is a hostage of war, they know how the clones think, so the clones have to start adapting to what the Separatist droids are doing now, because they're starting to counteract that movement. I think that's why I would put Anaxis on the A tier angle, because it's something that we haven't seen in the Clone Wars, and I think it's something we haven't seen in Star Wars battles, period, of like, okay, the enemy is now figuring out what we're doing. Okay, we have to start coming outside the box, and that outside the box aspect is, let's bring in the Bad Batch, who are obviously nothing like any type of clones that we see, because they'll think outside the box and then come up with these crazy plans. And I think you get the whole aspect of the Bad Batch and Anakin and the 501st of them disagreeing, because obviously they do stuff differently than them, and that obviously creates inner conflict.
Well, it's not even that. It builds it builds the relationships that they will eventually have with Rex and Cody. Like, it's very, very important.
And like Filoni was saying, like for season 7, you needed the Battle of Anaxis, because you needed the Rex storyline, you needed an Ahsoka storyline to set up Siege, and this is the perfect final Rex storyline before getting into the Siege of Mandalore, because it perfectly puts everything in play, and it's something that we haven't seen in Star Wars before. So that's why I think it belongs in A, because I think it does more interesting things than these battles down here.
You also forgot Battle of Cato Nemoidia.
But that's books, it's not, because Brotherhood.
That's a battle, because that's where they're at in the episode where it's season 7. It's right before Siege of Mandalore. That's where they're at, is Cato Nemoidia in season 7.
I thought it was more Ahsoka on the run, and then
no, I'm almost positive. I'm almost positive that is also part of the Battle of Cato Nemoidia.
I mean, I don't mind getting them actually bad. I swear there's nothing really going on there.
Let me see. Plo Koon. Hold on. The battle prelude. Okay. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not Cato Nemoidia. Where is that battle in season 7?
I feel like it's just
what
Anaxis.
Planet is that? That's not Anaxis. That's something else.
Because season 7 is just Anaxis, Siege of Mandalore, and then you have the Ahsoka.
Well, you have the battle that where Rex and the 501st are all underneath, and Anakin does the whole.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's the opening of Siege of Mandalore. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, I don't know where that's at, but I would say that would be. Well, no, that's not it is, but
it is.
I don't know. That's a fun little moment, though. That is a nice little moment. But we won't add that. Okay. Let's go to Battle of Coruscant. I'm gonna put it A tier. A tier. It would be S tier if the Tartakovsky Clone Wars was canon, but it's not.
See, Tartakovsky Clone Wars is not canon. However, here's my hot take. I think it goes in B tier. I don't think there's really much interesting going on in that battle outside of the Anakin, Obi-Wan, Dooku stuff. I think it's just kind of take it or leave it.
I think
the opening shot with Anakin, Obi-Wan going down, I think that is really cool. I think that is the thing that people think about when they think about the Battle of Coruscant.
It's the visuals. If we had a ground aspect like we do in Tartakovsky, that's why.
If we were counting Tartakovsky, it would be A tier, no doubt in my mind.
It'd be S tier for me because of the way it sets up the ground to air assault. Like that's pretty fucking important. And I wish somebody would. I wish it would just be like, hey, yeah, those events were canon, because those are cool. I love the aspects. I love that the droids are on the ground on Coruscant and like making a muck of Coruscant the entire time.
Right.
But I would put it. I would say put it B.
I would say top of B, and that's the highest I would go personally, because like I said,
Top of
I
B,
think
that's
I
fine.
think I think the Anakin Obi-Wan visuals carry this battle like crazy, and then once you like really think beyond that, there's nothing really interesting going on.
Yeah.
Like the thing I was holding in my back pocket, which is funny. Remember when I joked about Naboo, I was like, I have something in my back pocket that I'm saving for later. This is what I was saving for later. I think of the 3 prequel movie battles, like the major ones, like the main ones. Obviously, we have like Kashyyyk and Felucia, the third Felucia, and like Utapau.
Kashyyyk's a fun one. Kashyyyk's a fun one. We'll get to it.
But like, I think of prequel era battles, Naboo is my favorite of the 3 movies.
Wow, and that's that's my least favorite. That's my least favorite. Wow. Is it okay if you remove Duel of the Fates?
If we remove Duel of the Fates, it shifts it. But also, if you remove Luke and Vader and Endor, it also shifts that. See how what my kind of basis is? It's like I count everything as a whole.
That's fair. Okay. No, I can get behind that.
Siege of Mandalore.
Siege of Mandalore, I think it's in between. I think it's top 8 here. Actually, never mind. With everything that goes on there, I think it is better than Umbara. I think we're set up for 2.5, 3 seasons on Mandalore. We've had this conflict brewing for so long. The fact that Palpatine finally gets to go in and fuck everything up is hilarious to me. Ahsoka and Maul's lightsaber duel is obviously top tier. But the battle itself, I mean, obviously seeing it in Ahsoka, great, amazing. Seeing live action clone troopers is always fun to see. So I think from a battle standpoint, I think it's top of A tier. I think I think
that's it. I think like the Maul Ahsoka stuff, obviously it's the main factor of its arc. I think that is what carries it, with the whole Maul knowing what Darth Sidious is. I
also really liked her dropping in off the gunships. You'll see
her jumping from ship to ship.
You'll see a theme for me. The top 3 all involve LAAT gunships in some shape or form. If you notice, I love that ship. That ship is so fucking cool. I love it so much. But yeah, I think Siege of Mandalore is exactly where it would, or I'd put it in S tier. To be honest, I think it's that good of a battle. I mean, you get to see ATTEs walking around Mandalore, shooting down and fighting against Mandalorians.
You know what? I was gonna be a stickler and be like A tier is where it belongs. Like, but I think of the prequel era stuff, I think it's the most interesting battle.
I agree. I think
it has the most dynamics of what's going on.
I think there are better S tier battles that are coming up.
We're gonna come to those, and I know that when we get to a certain thing, someone is gonna probably be like, "Okay, but you counted Siege of Mandalore, but you didn't put this in A." Well, we'll get to that when we get to that. So let's get down to
third battle Felucia, D tier. We barely see it. If you were gonna put Battlefront 2's campaign, then maybe I'd move it to C, but that doesn't count because that's
why. Do you think there's droids? No.
Yeah. Oh god, that is terrible. Battle of Utapau. A tier.
Are you high?
Absolutely
Are you
not.
actually high?
It's A tier. It's A tier.
Okay, what
you get Obi-Wan, you get Obi-Wan Grievous, which that's the weakest part of the battle, in my opinion.
It's the weakest duel of that movie outside of Palpatine Yoda.
No shit. But what makes it for me
Are you going off the
seeing
Revenge of the Sith
clones.
novelization? Because if you're going off just that, you're kind of insane.
I'm not. I think it visually is so cool seeing the clones like go at these droids. Like it's.
I think.
All right.
Okay.
Maybe top of B. I will be willing to drop it to B.
I want you to look at all of B and look at Utapau. I think all of B has more interesting things going on. I'll concede lower B. At highest, I'll go like here.
I'm willing to go with that.
Ryloth has more interesting things going on. Naboo has more interesting things going on. The Massacre episode has more interesting going on. Camino has more interesting. Like they all have more interesting. Like Utapau is really, if you think about it, just a plot device just to get Obi-Wan away from Anakin so Palpatine can seduce Anakin to the dark side. There's nothing else going on outside of that. And then Order 66, obviously, but it's more into the Anakin Palpatine stuff than that.
But yeah.
That's why I would say lower B, because like Obi-Wan versus Grievous, like I roll my eyes every single time we get into that duel. And then once you remove that, there's what else is there really? Like that's why I would say lower B.
Okay, fine. That's fine. All right. Battle Kashyyyk.
Lower B as well. I think I'd just put these two
Absolutely fucking not, dude. You get to see Wookiees. Wookiees in action. Are you kidding me?
But it's so underdeveloped, and it's just...
It is. But guess what? You let your fucking imagination go wild. Come on.
I'm going on what's actually happening in these battles, not what I'm imagining, because I can imagine a better battle with the Battle of Kashyyyk. It's... Okay, one, I'm biased here because Ki-Adi-Mundi, because fuck Ki-Adi-Mundi. That's one factor. Two, it's another plot device to get Yoda away from Anakin. It's the same purpose as Utapau. So it's like outside of that, like what's really going on?
All right. I'll lower B. That's fine. All right. Battle of Mimban. It's a cool concept. Don't get me wrong. Cool concept, but I would put it behind Teth. I'd put it
behind Teth. Okay.
Yeah, behind Teth.
Because it's just it's
the music really sold it. The music really sold it here for me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously when they started off with the Imperial March with like the interchanging. I wish we would get a story within Mimban during the Clone Wars, because you get a mention of it during the first couple of the Rishi Moon Outpost episode. They talk about, this is to the 215th Skyborn Division out on Mimban. Like, I think that would have been seeing the trench style warfare that we see in Solo in the Clone Wars. I think that's an interesting plot point right there. It's not all that. It's important because you need Han to get to Chewie, and you need Han to get to Beckett as well.
You also need Han to defect.
Yeah, you need him to defect as well, but it's C tier for me.
Yeah. And then we got the Battle of Atan and Rebel Season 3.
Adelon, yeah. It's not better than Christophsis. It's not better than Kashyyyk. It's not better than Utapau. It's not better.
I think the thing that's interesting at play here is
Bendu,
the Thrawn Kallus stuff and the Bendu stuff. I think once you kind of get past it and kind of get into the nitty gritty of the battle, it's just I do like how it's Thrawn's, I guess, only major victory in canon. I would say if you don't count the books, if you don't count like the Thrawn novels, this is really Thrawn's only big victory. Yeah, he doesn't really win outside of like Adelon, so it's like. I do like the Thrawn Kallus stuff. I think that's interesting, but once you get past that, it's just kind of like, okay, this is a cool concept. Now, Battle of Lothal,
A tier,
100% A tier.
It's in between Onderon and Geonosis.
I was legitimately thinking that.
Exactly, perfect. The way it sets up Ezra, it sets up the Ahsoka show. The way Thrawn gets outsmarted by Ezra.
Okay, I saw a really dumb debate about this because someone was talking about Thrawn's canon feats, and they're like, Thrawn got outsmarted by a child, and I'm like,
but he
didn't get outsmarted by a child. Thrawn doesn't understand what the Force is. It's more of like once you start throwing in mystical shit.
But that doesn't make sense, Hereth, because alliances exist. He knows about the Force.
No, I'm saying
he
like
knows these things.
Not really though.
You
In
mean
alliances,
you mean the Purgle?
Yeah, like, but even in alliances, Thrawn's like whatever this misty weird Force shit is, and like he's kind of more like.
But he understands it better than like the average Imperial though. He's not dumb.
He's not dumb, but I'm saying like it's an external factor that he doesn't.
Ezra, I think, in my opinion, does outsmart Thrawn here.
Mm-hmm.
He does outsmart Thrawn. He uses elements that Thrawn isn't aware to, and that's outsmarting him. He's thinking 2 steps ahead. Whereas, if you think about it, during the season 3 and 4, the rebels are always trying to catch up to Thrawn. Thrawn is constantly 3-4 steps ahead.
They're constantly on their toes throughout the entirety of the second half of Rebels.
So seeing Ezra flip the script is what makes that battle for me, in my opinion.
100%. And like, also, I find it funny that you talk about like Ahsoka because 2020 hindsight of like, oh yeah, it sets up Ahsoka. To me, like this was like, the finale of these characters. This was it. Like, no more Hera, no more Ezra, no more Sabine. Like this was it. Like we had to all go off the Rebels epilogue, and that was it. But like, and when you think about it from that lens, and maybe like I'm biased because I was watching Rebels as it was coming out.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
this had a lot of weight because this felt like the finality, and like obviously Scarif is the first major victory for the rebellion, but to me this felt like the first emotional win for the rebellion.
Scarif's S tier, and you can argue with a fucking wall. Scarif is an S tier, and I think it's better than Siege of Mandalore.
Siege of Mandalore, 100,000%.
It's better than Siege of Mandalore. It's the first ever skirmish between the rebellion and it's the first real battle of the Galactic Civil War. We get Jyn, and just the concept of having a beach battle. I think that concept is amazing. The way it's shot, the way that the Death Troopers and the Rebels all like kind of coexist and are battling each other. The use of the ATRTs, and the ATATs. And also the space battle alone is S tier as well.
What we were talking about with Onderon of like the guerrilla warfare aspect of Star Wars, this takes what Onderon was trying to do and just magnifies it to like the 11 with the whole like make 10 men feel like 100, that whole concept. And then you have now with Andor in play, it was already an S tier like battle. Now it's like an S tier plus battle. Like
yeah. I would agree. I think this really is. I mean, and again, it's the starting point to the rebellion. It's not the starting point of the rebellion, but like for open rebellion, like actual fighting of warfare against the Empire, not just cells all like fighting against the Empire individually. It's them as a whole rebellion coming together and taking on the Empire. Obviously the prelude to that is the Battle of Yavin. Battle of Yavin is great. I think it's above Umbar. I think it's an A tier.
You think it's an A tier? Okay, that's where I was really gonna go, but I also was like, I was trying to go off of what I was feeling.
But
Chase is gonna crash out when they see this.
I think
Char is gonna crash out in the next section. This is where Chase crashes out for the podcast. Chase would be like, "What the fuck?"
You want to know something?
What?
I love the original trilogy.
Yes.
The battles are meh. They're okay.
This is where I disagree. Look. Yavin, to me, I agree with Chase to an extent. This is peak Star Wars. This is your heart like races throughout the entirety of the Battle of Yavin. You're on the edge of your seat for the entire trench run. I think
feel that way because and here's the other thing, we've also seen it.
I will concede bottom of S and I think it's above Umbara, and I think like it's.
Do I get controversial here with this next pick because I've moved on from Yavin? I'm okay with Yavin being in S tier.
Oh, okay, no, okay. This is where we get controversial, and Char's not here, so we can say whatever the hell we want.
I think Battle of Hoth is A tier.
Agreed. I was 100% going to go there, but we're an A tier.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
That's where I'm thinking.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. Because I genuinely don't think it's better than the Battle of Geonosis Part 2. I really don't. Hoth is iconic as fuck.
It's iconic.
We're not saying it's not iconic. I just think that it moves very slowly.
I'm just waiting for my phone to explode and him to be like, "What the fuck?"
No, hey, this is what happens when you
oversleep for a podcast.
When you don't set your alarm, you don't get a say anymore. It's not a bad battle.
I think no one's saying it's a bad battle.
It's better than Umbara, and it's not better than Geonosis Part 2.
I think of on the on-screen Galactic Civil War battles, it's the weakest. I
agree.
I don't disagree that it's iconic. It's the first major Empire victory that we see in the Galactic Civil War, and like
now if Darth Vader was going down and doing what he did in Rogue One in Hoth, it would be higher for me.
Or
but
even not. Kenobi,
even Kenobi. Like no,
there are moments that I love about Battle of Hoth, like obviously
Absolutely.
Luke,
yes.
like taking out the ATT.
Yeah.
By like climbing on it and like throwing a grenade. And I love Vader's entrance onto Hoth, where he's like, where it's like that tension is like,
it's
like
so
palpable.
It's so funny and also so iconic as well, because you're just like, where are these rebels at? And it's just like, bro, come on, you were so close. But yeah, I would say it's middle of A tier. It's not better. It's better than Onderon. It's better than the Bad Batch arc. It's better than Rebel Season 4 finale, but it's not better than Umbara, and it's not better than
I would agree with
Geonosis.
I know it's to go like OT fans.
He's gonna
kill us.
Why did you not S tier?
I'm expecting because
you didn't decide to fucking show up.
I will give some behind the scenes lore. The last time we did a major tier list was you, Chase, and I, and like at 10 o'clock at night, I was gonna go to bed. And I get a fucking call from Char, and he's like, "What the hell? How do you rate Clone Wars Season 5 and the bottom of A tier? You guys are on crack." I'm expecting a similar thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's not here.
He is not here
to argue his case.
I'm surprised he's not in the chat right now, but it is what it is.
Time to get to Endor.
Battle of Endor. I think Endor is better. It's better than No, it's not better than Scarif. It's not better than Scarif. Scarif is so much better than Endor.
Okay, but there's a sector that Endor has, but Scarif doesn't. Endor.
Okay, lightsabers. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Okay, let me get to this. So, Scarif, Endor are about on par when it comes to space battle. I think they both have more interesting, like the same interesting things going on. What takes Endor to me and pushes it over the edge is the Luke and Vader stuff. I think I agree with Chase, like the on Endor stuff, like on rewatch, I don't think it holds up as well as I thought it did.
That's why I'm saying that it's below Scarif. Is for that exact reason. I think the on ground, if you're gonna compare space battle and on ground, Scarif takes the cake. The only thing that makes Endor better is Luke and Vader, and you don't really have that for Scarif.
Here's the thing that on rewatch, or not rewatch, but like in retrospect, if Endor kept the deleted scenes with the Imperial like conflicted over destroying the moon of Endor, we may be having more of a different discussion right now.
Yeah.
Because those deleted scenes are incredible. I don't know how the hell that got deleted from the movie.
Well, and the fact that Vader shows up and he's sitting in his chamber, like the fact that he just has a chamber in every single like facility is hilarious to me. He's just sitting there like, Luke. I love that. I love that deleted scene. I agree with you on that one. But no, Endor behind Scarif, I feel like is pretty iconic as hell.
Yeah. All right, now let's get into the Battle of Jakku, which honestly, here we go. Hot take time. Boom. Actually, wait. Boom.
No. No.
I'm looking.
Not. No.
I am biased by books. Look, man.
No, the books are good. The Battlefront 2 campaign is fun, and the Battlefront 1 DLC is fun. We don't, besides the video game, we don't really see much of it besides the books. And in my opinion, that's what takes it down. I think that it is behind.
I think it's at least above Hoth.
No, that's where I'll disagree with you. I think Hoth's better than Jakku, in my opinion, because my main argument is that we mostly see Hoth on screen. We do see Jakku in a sense, but it's not from the perspective of like we get like in the book we get it very well explained. Yes, but we don't see it from.
But also, Battlefront
to
2. The thing that makes me conflicted about this is when you're playing the Battlefront 2 campaign and you're on Jakku, when you're flying up as Aiden to confront your father, you're hearing, "Oh my God, that's that Legion over there!" Oh, like you could hear all these references to it. So it's like when I'm playing Battlefront 2, I am remembering what it felt like when I read Lost Stars. I remember what I feel like when I read Aftermath. It's like I'm getting all these emotional feelings, and it's like the end of the Galactic Civil War. It's like the final hurrah for the rebellion.
I understand that, but I'm also
this shit too, and I may feel different after this.
But I also am trying to have us not get yelled at by Char.
I don't give a fuck.
I think Hoth is higher than Jakku. That's just that's how I feel. So if you flip flop those, I would be okay with it. Yeah, I think that's good. Sorry, I think that's more than fair. All right, next.
The Battle of Mos Espa.
I'm all for it. Battle of Mos Espa. C tier. C tier.
I don't disagree.
C tier.
It's fun.
I think Teth. No. Teth's not better than a Battle of Mos Espa.
No, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mos Espa is just like Star Wars, like dumping all of its toys down and then like, oh, what if Boba Fett and Din Djarin teamed up together? Like it's just Star Wars being fun.
Chrysanthemum was like honestly, like Book of Boba Fett. I've rewatched it once or twice since it's come out.
Boba riding a Rancor
is
fun as hell.
It is hilarious. It's so funny.
And then Boba versus Cad Bane, corny and fun as hell.
Yeah, it's fun as hell. No, it is. I think that's what puts it above Teth for sure. Okay, what's the next one?
Second Siege of Mandalore.
Ooh. Yes.
Actually,
no.
That feels more right.
No. It's better than Naboo. It's better than Naboo. It's better than
Naboo.
Oh yes, absolutely. The visuals, seeing Moff Gideon, seeing Din, Bo, and Grogu all take out Moff Gideon, seeing the Praetorian Guards.
Okay, the Praetorian. A core memory for me with this, like people will know, I'm not the biggest fan of season 3. Is watching this episode in Celebration in London with a crowd when the Praetorian Guards came out, dude. The energy you could feel in the room. People were losing their goddamn minds, and it was
because it's sequel stuff. It's like the first time we ever saw sequel material, which, by the way, Praetorian Guards were always a thing, by the way.
My only gripe with this battle, and I'm curious to see how Mando and Grogu is going to handle this, is I still think killing Moff Gideon was a major mistake.
I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead.
I think they're going to pull the clone ship, but I think
it's going to be clones. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is I like the pull under the rug aspect of he's not First Order, he's not Remnant, he's doing his own shit. I like that pull rug.
I also think that you also have to have the Remnant in inner fighting because they're still inner fighting.
I just think like I said, it could be a clone thing. I just think Giancarlo is such a great villain that I think they killed him too early.
100% agree. But no, I would say the second Siege of Mandalore or the second Battle of Mandalore is definitely above Naboo, in my opinion. I think it's perfect where it's at.
And now we get into the sequel era content. We got Battle of Takodana.
Battle of Takodana, I think, is lower B. I think it's in
Agreed.
between Christophsis and Adelon. No, it's not. It's not higher than Battle of Utapau or Kashyyyk.
Okay, I'll give you one moment and one moment only, because I think this moment is better than Utapau. The Resistance coming overhead, over the waters, and then it's the Resistance.
You disagree with
hell
all
of a pilot.
You disagree with all of this, Nick? Really interesting.
Okay, Nick. Look, it's me and Luke. We don't have a third opinion. Me and Luke, and like we're on different ends of the plane, and then we're having to meet in the middle. Because
you're lucky that we even got to do this. Okay, to be honest.
Because to me, if I had it my way, Geonosis and Coruscant would not be at the top of B, or B would be lower. But anyway, I mean, I can't even see all of that. I just wanted to cause some chaos. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So that's why I'd say put it here. Hell, I could make a case this way, and I don't think you would disagree with that.
Okay, I'm willing to concede on that. Because the Resistance theme is pretty fucking legit. I will not lie.
And the shot of Poe like killing all the TIE fighters, and the way it like pans back down to the bottom, and like I still get chills every single time, just because of John Williams' score. And like,
agreed.
I think it's when Force Awakens, like obviously I'm like really high in Force Awakens. I think that's when like as a movie it peaks. I think Starkiller Base and like the Han stuff is really interesting, but like I think this is when J.J. Abrams is like the most in his bag.
By the way, we are not counting Han's death in the Battle of Starkiller as a factor. Just
no, that is not a factor at all. I wasn't considering it a factor because when Kylo kills Han, that's when it starts.
Starkiller Base.
I was just gonna drop it right there. I may make an argument.
Perfect. Nope. Perfect. Don't need any arguments. I don't think it's better than anything.
I was gonna go here.
Okay, I'm willing. No. I
think it's better than Christophsis at the minimum.
Absolutely not. Move Christophsis back up.
What does Christophsis have that Starkiller Base doesn't have? Because I think Starkiller Base has more interesting things going on than Christophsis. Outside of Christophsis looks cool, Luke. What does Christophsis really have at the end of the day?
Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka. I rest my fucking case right there.
It's Ahsoka's introduction, but once you remove that,
you still got Anakin and Obi-Wan. They're better characters than Finn, Kylo, or Finn, Kylo, or
I
Rey.
Still will. Okay, this is my argument. Just like how one hell of a pilot is my argument for Takodana. Rey grabbing the saber chills every single fucking time.
No, you're right. That's a great moment. But we're talking about the battle itself.
But if we're counting, if we're counting Endor, and my argument for Endor and Battle of Naboo was Luke and Vader on the Death Star, Duel of the Fates, we have to count Rey versus Kylo and Finn versus Kylo as a factor. Because it is a factor at the end of the day.
Okay, I'm fine where it's at. With that logic, that's fine.
Yeah. Then we got Battle of Dakar. Personally, I used to not, when I was like in my teenage era.
But I would say that it's right here. Right there. Right there's perfect. I think as a space battle, it's really fun. As a concept, it's really fun. We see the first time that a base actually gets blown up, like actually blown up. So that was kind of fun.
It's also the first time in Star Wars where like we begin like a Star Wars movie and we're not having a time jump whatsoever. Like we're going straight from Starkiller Base straight into Dakar with like no breaks. And it's like, I think it's like the best Oscar Isaac performance of like the sequels. Like I really do enjoy it. But I think the reason why I put it where it's at is just that this battle's talked to death by the fandom menace to the point where I'm just kind of like I enjoy it. I have fun with it. I think
this movie in general is talked about a lot, and not in the greatest of light.
Now, but let's talk about the actual peak battle of Last Jedi. Crate, honestly, is A tier, and we can't even argue that.
I can argue that. No.
I think it's underneath Jack.
Absolutely not.
Actually,
It is not an A tier.
No, it's A tier, and
B tier at its best.
Are you high, Luke?
The only thing that makes it better, the only thing that gives it the umph is
the Luke and Kylo stuff. Easily pushes it into A tier. Easily. Look, okay, we get
that's the problem. It's not it, but that's the problem. Not all of these battles have those aspects to it, so it's not even really fair if we're gonna bring that's the tough part because
it had. I think the Luke and Kylo stuff gives it the oomph. Also, I think it's John Williams in his bag for the sequel scores. I think it's the best of John Williams' sequel scores. And so okay, we got Luke and Kylo, which pushes it to high A tier because for me, it's the Jedi at its absolute peak. You get the most honorable Jedi act in all of Star Wars. You get the Luke and Leia scene with them talking about it with Ben, which is really, if you think about it, yes, I know Rise of Skywalker technically is Leia's send-off, but if you really fucking think about it from a filmmaking standpoint, that is really Carrie Fisher's final scene as Leia. If you think about it from a filmography standpoint, and the way the shot of Mark Hamill kissing Leia and then going out emotional ball every single time without fail. Then you get what also pushes it to me, and what I like about the battle outside of the Luke and Kylo stuff, we're actually talking about the battle aspect of Battle Crate, is the TIE fighter chase with the Millennium Falcon. I get chills with that every single time because look, I'm a whore for the TIE fighter escape theme from A New Hope, and I think the visuals with them going through Crate and then them popping out. Also, you get Adam Driver and his Adam Driverness of with the whole of him and Hux thing, and then the
all right
ship out of the sky, that kind of shit.
All right.
I rest my case. I think it's above Jakku, but underneath Hoth.
I would agree with that. That's fair. I might not agree with that, but all right.
Then we get to Exegol. I think Exegol is B, and I think I would put it
here. Are we including all the Jedi?
Yes.
Okay, then it's top of A tier. That moment right there is one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars.
I don't disagree that it's one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars. I just think I do love everyone showing up to Exegol. I think that's interesting.
Yeah,
however,
I would agree with that.
Evan, I'm all the Jedi. I think those are two really good moments. But once you get past those two moments, I think the battle portion of Exegol, it's just kind of boring.
I think it had a lot of interesting concepts going from air to on top of the Star Destroyer. I think that's an interesting concept.
I think that's an interesting concept. I just don't think it's executed well at all.
That's fair.
To me, I think it's perfectly seated in B tier. I would not put it. I think Crate is, the highest of the battles in the sequel trilogy. I think Exegol is a close second. Not close second. Actually, I think there's a pretty big gap. I think it's Crate's here, Exegol's here, and then Star Killer Base is here.
Char and Star Killer Base. Yeah, that's fair.
So that's why I would personally put that where it's at. And like I said, I'm all the Jedi. And everyone showing up, it's carries it high. But once you, if you just not remove those two elements, but once you start looking beyond that, it's just there's nothing really much going on.
That's fair. B tier because unironically not enough key jingling to the face compared to the novel. That's for sure. Yeah, the novel really pushes that Battle of Exegol pretty far.
It's trying to make up for a shortcoming of the movie because it's how do we make this battle feel final?
Worth it. Yeah.
It's like we're gonna put all the glup shittos. I do love the joke. Speaking of if we're counting book content, I do love how fucking Snap Wexley dies like 15 seconds before Wedge comes back.
Yeah, that's fun.
I find that funny every single time because it's like, oh look, we could have got father and son reunion. Guess we won't.
No, yeah. No, I like this. I like this list. All right, so starting from D tier, we have the lowest battle being the second battle of Felucia. Then we have the first battle of Felucia. Then we have Mon Cala. We have the third and final battle of Felucia with the Order 66 scene. Then on C tier, we have the Battle of Mimbom for Solo. We have the Battle of Teth, which is seen in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the movie, and also Ahsoka. Then we have the Battle of...
I guess I wasn't considering Ahsoka as a factor. I didn't really think about Ahsoka as the factor. I was just thinking about the Clone Wars movie.
Yep.
I thought I would not do this, but...
Are you putting... Okay. No.
Just because of the Ahsoka scene with Anakin and Ahsoka talking about...
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like the cost of being a soldier. I didn't really consider that as a factor.
Huge. That's very, very huge. I always that battle specifically with Ahsoka enhanced that battle for me because it's like, oh wow, it's her reflecting on her first ever skirmish or second ever skirmish in the Clone Wars.
It's her first real skirmish. Like
Christophsis still counts.
I'm saying like from like with Ahsoka, it feels like Christophsis is more of like, oh, look, I just got my master. This is fun. Let me do little shenanigans and hide. Teth is like, this is the war.
Hit you in the face, kid. Get ready. So we have C tier, and then we've got B tier, which I feel like is the most even. We have the Battle of Adelon, Battle of Dakar, Battle of Christophsis, Battle of Starkiller Base, Battle of Kashyyyk, Battle of Utapau, Battle of Ryloth, Naboo, the second battle of Mandalore. We have the Battle of Dathomir, or the Massacre on Dathomir, the Battle of Exegol, Battle of Kamino, Battle of Geonosis Part 1, and Battle of Coruscant. That's what we have in B tier. And A tier, we have the Battle of Anaxis, Battle of Onderon, Battle of Lothal, Battle of Jakku, Battle of Crate, Battle of Hoth, Battle of Geonosis Part 2, and Battle of Umbara in A tier.
Can we talk about the visual symmetry? I didn't really think about this of Crate and Crate being side by side. I actually kind of think that's perfect. I can't really argue that.
Actually. Yeah. And then for S tier, we have the Battle of Yavin, the Siege of Mandalore, the Battle of Mandalore Part 1, and the Battle of Endor, and then leading off S tier is the Battle of Scarif. That's kind of our ranking. That's me and Hereth's rankings. Char was not able to make it for this, even though it was his
Char
idea.
Chase were here, it would be chaos. It would be chaos.
I think this is a pretty fair ranking. If you had to change one ranking, which battle would it be and why?
Which battle and why? I have like 3 that I would be like,
okay, then pick your number one. Number one that you would change.
I would move Crate higher.
No.
I would move Crate to the top of A personally.
I don't think it's better than Umbara or Battle of Geonosis Part 2. Or even Hoth, to be honest. Goes to S tier simply for the clone storyline. That's what I said, but Hereth didn't go for it. And we are democracy. We are give and take here. We're not an oligarchy.
Nick, I don't disagree with you to an extent. However, Clone Wars fanboys talking about Umbara pushes it.
They do overhype Umbara and Mortis a lot.
I think top of A is like, I think it's perfect, and I wouldn't go any higher than that. I think it values the clone storyline while also kind of giving weight to what
I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they do with Mando and Grogu and Ahsoka season 2 with Akbar and
Speaking
Thrawn.
of what Nick just said, dude, when the stream is over and the VOD is up, dude, prequel fanboys are gonna rip us a new one just for where Umbara is. It's gonna be hilarious. I'm gonna laugh my ass off at the comments. And I'm gonna scroll and just die laughing.
That's because it gives them their fill of bright shiny explosion. That's for sure. That you're spot on.
It just jangled the keys, the arc.
I don't know. I don't really have a hot take here. I think it's pretty solid, to be honest.
I think the other thing people will get mad at is Coruscant being the top of B, but I also think outside of the opening shot of the Battle of Coruscant, once you get past that, what really is there?
I can see that argument. But I think if I did have to change anything, I would put Coruscant at the bottom of A. Everything else, I genuinely, I agree with to a point. I think I'd move Jakku behind. Actually, I would move. I would move.
I could get behind this. I know it's a subtle, small shift, but I could get behind that. Jakku will still be in my top 5 battles personally when I think about it. But if we're talking about on-screen media,
I think Onderon is more impactful than Jakku.
I would 100% disagree with that. I think I could settle for behind Lothal.
What it does, what Onderon sets up for the world as a whole.
But you can't get higher than the final battle of the Galactic Civil War. And then I know. Look, if we're counting content outside of movies and shows for some consideration, Jakku has to be an A tier alone for that. And like when you consider, I haven't even read Alphabet Squadron, and I'm like, man, Jakku is really fucking good. I'm assuming after I read Alphabet Squadron, I may be having a different discussion here.
Yeah.
The Lost Stars alone pushes it where it's at.
I mean, I would. Okay. All right. I mean, that's fine. Personally, I would put Battle of Naboo at the bottom of B tier, but that's. Yeah, no shit, Hereth. Read a fucking book already. God damn. Every fucking week we go through this. You two fail me in Chase every single time.
Just set a deadline for Mask of Fear and I will read it.
Mask of Fear is going to be the first episode that we do when we come back.
I'll read it on the plane both ways. By the time we go both ways, I will be done with the book.
You better. So that is our ranking of all of the battles that we see on screen, TV, movie, video game. Nick, I've actually got a proposition for you. What if you came on and talked about Trials of the Jedi while we're gone the week of the wedding, because it does come out that Tuesday. I think that would be interesting. I think that would be an interesting conversation between you and Brandon and whoever you guys decide to bring on. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to pitch that.
Yeah.
I'm going to pitch that. I think that's a great idea, actually. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if Chaco's into it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're all going to have to read that book.
I mean,
because it comes out on that Tuesday, I think. But will you guys have a book done in 48 hours? That's going to be a little bit.
I'm sure Chaco already has the book.
Oh, he has the arc. I didn't think about the arc.
Probably. So he's probably already had it done. So, yeah. We will talk more offline about that. But this is our battles ranking. Yell, scream at us. What did we get wrong?
Scream at us in the comments. We're going to go like a million comments on this video.
Do you guys not like it? Don't really know what we're going to do next week. I haven't really decided that. I might not even be on the podcast next week. Just because we're making the final pushes to wedding stuff
for sure.
And whatnot. But Alanis will be gone that weekend, so I might do like a 12-hour stream, play multiple video games, do multiple things. So we might play some more Battlefront, might play some other games or whatnot. So
are you gonna finally play Outlaws? And
ooh, no, because money is tight. Otherwise, I would. We'll see. That will eventually be a stream for sure, because I do think that I'm missing out on that a lot, actually.
I need to play the Outlaws DLC. I have not played either of them.
I haven't played.
I played the main story. I played that from start to finish.
I haven't played that at all, actually.
I think honestly, you could probably finish it
Maybe.
And if you're doing a 12-hour stream, I think you could do it in one go. The game's actually pretty short.
We'll see. It might not be a 12-hour stream, but who knows? But yeah, that's our ranking video. If you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss any of our content. Hereth, where can the good people follow you on social medias?
Of course, you can find me at Hereth Productions on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and of course, you can find me here every Thursday on the Pod Ones podcast, except for 2 Thursdays from now when we do the wedding. But outside of that, usually here every Thursday.
Which is funny because we'll all be in the same area. You think that we would want to do a
celebration in Anaheim?
Yeah,
that's the first time where all 4 hosts are together since 2022. Anaheim. What the hell?
Yeah, 3 years. It's weird that we've been doing this for so long. We've only done 150 episodes. 151 episodes, actually. It's weird. You can find Char J on Instagram, TikTok, and here at the Pod Ones every Thursday, except for tonight.
You could find Chase anywhere at Forward Into the Black on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch as well. They haven't been streaming on Twitch, but they do occasionally.
And they've been doing stuff with Fanbox, and also with AJ Starkiller every Wednesday morning.
I forget it used to be Shit I Love, but I forget they rebranded something else recently.
I think it's Stuff I Love. I'm not really sure, but that's where you can find them. You can follow me at Jedi Master Eggs on all social media, and you can follow the Pod Ones on all social medias. We'll be back next Thursday. Don't know really what we're going to do. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. May the Force be with you.
Always.